Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Coaching Uncovered podcast. My name is Chris Berry, and I'm going to be your host for today. Joining us, we have Marlene Cameron. Marlene, how are you doing today?
Great, thank you.
Very cool. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. I'm excited to go ahead and chat a little bit more. I know you've been coaching for a while, and there's some exciting transitions that you're doing right now. So before we, and I even told, I know I told you right before, I got to hold myself back because otherwise I'll start talking a little too much and get excited asking questions. Uh, Before we kind of get into the different questions and everything like that, can you tell everyone that's either watching or listening a little bit more about what you coach people on?
Well, I'm going to back up a little bit because
Mhm.
I took my coaching training over 20 years ago, and coaching was relatively new at that time. It was kind of exciting. It was a new industry, a new approach, and I was always, the goal of coaching at the time was always to help people access their own wisdom, like to come up with
Mhm.
the answers for themselves. Um, And then over time, more and more people have entered the field of coaching. So now there's a lot of coaching, which I call, people giving expert advice and giving a lot more guidance and direction and helping people with strategy. So coaching in itself has evolved. But a few years into my coaching, I came across a technique. It's called emotional freedom technique that really helped people kind of get out of their like a very high, intense emotional state and become more present and be able to see through a situation or come to some of their own solutions. And I taught that technique for 15 years. And so that really became my coaching practice. I taught mental health professionals and trained and certified them. And then I was introduced to another approach to kind of how life works, how the human mind works, how we create our own individual reality, the fact that we all exist in this innate mental health, well-being. We have this deeper intelligence, and that really spoke to me. So I'm transitioning yet again in my coaching work with my clients.
I like that. So you've obviously, as you said, over 20 years ago, you got your certification, right? Or like coaching and all that, and you have a bunch of experience within all of that. So as you're making these different transitions and helping people a lot of different things, what's the main thing that you're really looking to go ahead and help guide people on as of right now, would you say?
Well, what I want to do is turn people around and look to themselves for their own as I said, this own deeper intelligence, this own sense of knowing, because we whether we call it insight or intuition or um, that's where people feel more grounded and more at home and are willing to take risks and take action because it feels right. It's like they resonate with it and they feel really grounded in it, so they can kind of step out into the world and feeling much more themselves, much more alive, much more confident.
Mm. Okay, understood. And I know that, we're talking 20 years ago that you got into this space. What made you get started in the very beginning? I know you talked about emerging and new, but like why?
Um, my former husband and I were taking a course for couples. The tagline for the course was "Before you divorce, take this course." And one of the facilitators was a coach, and so I hired her as my own coach. And then I had an opportunity to take coaching training, and I just something called to me. I think it was. It may be true for other coaches. There's something in this whole industry of coaching that that we grow in the process of helping other people grow.
I like it. And so now you've obviously been doing this for 20 plus years, right? And you've been going through, I'm sure, a lot of different periods of your coaching business. What have been some of the favorite parts of having, this coaching business? And what have been some of the biggest challenges you'll say of having your coaching business?
Well, the great part is seeing people kind of get past themselves and um, let go of some of the, thinking they have that's holding them back, some of their limiting beliefs, kind of wake up to their own, sense of creativity and seeing what's possible. Sometimes it's healing relationships or getting what I call getting past the past. And so they can live more, present in the moment. I coach mostly entrepreneurs and leaders. And so even though it sounds like it's very personal coaching, to me, we're always coaching the person, regardless of what role they have in their work.
Yeah. No, that does make sense. I like it. So you've obviously explained all of this. You've been doing it for a while. One of the biggest bottlenecks or challenges that a lot of coaches I speak with, they face is getting leads, right? Finding people that are interested in actually wanting to eventually convert into a paying client. Over all of these different years, what are some different tactics that you have found most effective? And what are the tactics that you're using now to currently generate leads?
Well, early on in my coaching practice, I was just very involved. I was president of Calgary Coaches. I belonged to different groups, and so it was almost just through getting to know people, like creating those relationships. But when I moved into teaching this technique, it was a very well-known technique, and
Mm,
so it's kind of like I had this little signpost out, emotional freedom techniques practitioner and trainer, and people would search me out, which was really nice. It's like
yeah.
I'd post a course on my website and people would sign up or something like that. But so moving away from that and not having something that's so easily recognizable, it's become I'm kind of faced with that, going back to the developing the relationships and the connections and having the conversations that create clients and lead to coaching agreements. And
Mm.
so I'll stop there and see if there's something else you want to ask me.
Yeah, well, essentially, so the biggest thing is, as you said, building the relationships, right? Whether it be through different mediums and stuff like that. What are some of, let's say, even today, like what are the most effective mediums that you're seeing right now to go ahead and start nurturing and building these relationships with people?
I still like um, in-person connections.
Mm,
I belong with a networking group here in where I live, and I'm going to actually join a club because I like the idea, when you get to see people over and over and sort of develop that familiarity in those relationships and those conversations. To me, it sort of comes more organically, and
mm.
yes, it's a longer time for that to unfold, but I've that's where I'm hanging my hat right now.
Okay, understood. And obviously, it will vary on each coach and what they're doing. When you are going to these in-person events, you talked about this one group that's local to you. What type of events are you going to in person? Are you just going to, whether it be local business events, like what exactly events are you going to in order to essentially find possible clients for you?
Yeah, they're all business related. So business networking events. Yeah. So connecting with potential clients or potential referral partners um, um, and sometimes just, meeting people at more, not necessarily business related events, but um, yeah, just having the opportunity to connect with people and have
Yeah.
conversations. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So let's say you met someone at a business event, you got connected with them. What is that process of taking that lead and actually converting it into a sale look like for you? Because I'll actually give a slight prelude as well before you answer. This is one of the biggest roadblocks as well that I see a lot of coaches facing because they love coaching, they love helping people, but they can't stand selling. So, what are the best things that you found over 20 plus years of doing this to go ahead and take that person from, hey, yeah, let's have a conversation, or yeah, I'm somewhat interested, to actually being a paying client of yours? What is that process?
Well, to me, every conversation with a prospective client is a coaching conversation, um, because the idea is to give, for me, it's to give the person an experience of being coached rather than telling them what it's going to look like when after they sign up. It's like they immediately start to see the value.
Yeah.
and are looking like, well, that's really good. Like, could we work together? And
Mhm.
so it's because I took a course years ago where I was encouraged to create this whole program and sell the program, and that didn't work for me.
Mm.
Um, to me, I see coaching as much more personal and tailored to the individual's needs and kind of where they're at right now.
Okay. Understood. So you have the conversation with someone, you really focus on giving value. You focus on giving them that experience of what is it going to look like for us coaching together. You do that. Is it essentially just going through a typical coaching session of, hey, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? What are the things holding you back from there? And then you go ahead and you essentially give them, hey, here are some recommendations. Here are some things. Here's what I would recommend working on, and maybe even walk through some things with them. Once you've done that coaching part of it, how do you then transition to be like, let's work together and do this? How do you make that transition?
Well, I don't give recommendations to tell you the truth. I help, we when we spoke earlier, it's like I help people kind of see things with new eyes or have insights, and that's what gets them excited. When they see something for themselves or come to realization themselves, and then it's like, well, that was really helpful. That was really interesting. What
Mm.
would it look like to work together? So if kind of take the word selling out of there, it's really kind of like call it client creation or having a client sort of see for themselves that they want to work with me, and because that's a really easy sell.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
and it may take more than one meeting. And I know lots of people do like the 30 minute intro or something, the 20-minute intro, and see if we're going to work together. I let it take as long as it needs to, um, have the person either say yes or no.
Yeah, understood. Okay. So you go through the process, you have the coaching, you guide them to essentially elicit their own answers and not just you giving the recommendations. It's how can I have you be I'm simply just the facilitator and you are the person who is walking through these steps and having the growth and everything from within essentially and opening your eyes. So you do all of that. They become a paying client of yours. What are some things that you do in order to keep them coming back, to keep them happy? I know you've talked about a couple of different things that you implement. If you were to summarize, here are the top things that I really do to keep people happy and coming back and paying me. What are those things?
Really great coaching.
Okay. And what is really good coaching?
Well, the experience that the client has in kind of realizing that they've got what it takes.
Mm,
Um, they've got all the confidence they need, they've got all the great ideas they need, all the motivation they need, and that's exciting.
mm,
Um, and so, often after like a series of sessions, maybe 6 months, people say, I'm just going to pause here and kind of go with what they got, or
yeah.
they may re-enroll, and yeah.
Okay. So going through all of that, obviously you said at the end, sometimes people say, I want to change and stuff. What are some of the additional tactics that you do? Is it getting people wins early on? Is it getting people to open their mindset? I know these are obviously all things that you do, but what would you say are some of the additional things that you're like, wow, this is so powerful. Every single client I do this to make sure that they're really happy and stuff.
Well, we can't do things to make people happy. Happiness is an inside job. And it's almost like waking them up to that, what they've already got. And they already have this, this inward joy. They already have this. It's like peeling away all the layers of, all of the, like if you think everybody's like a diamond and over time you got it's like
Yeah.
peeling that away and giving them the experience of their liveness.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Understood. Well, this has been great to obviously get more insight into everything. You obviously have a ton of experience, 20 plus years of doing this, and it's obviously working. So it's been great getting more insight into all of this. For anybody that is interested to either learn more about possibly working with you or just, they really resonated with the stuff that you were talking about and they're like, yo, I want to go ahead and get connected. what are the best ways for them to go ahead and get in contact with you?
The easiest way is email. It's marlene@marlenecameron.com.
Okay. Awesome. Well, Marlene, once again, it was great having you on, and I look forward to chatting more.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Awesome. Of course. Okay. Well, everyone, I hope that you were able to go ahead and get as much value as I did out of, this episode of the Coaching Uncovered podcast. As I shared before, Marlene has a wealth of knowledge and experience, from doing this over 20 years. And the biggest thing that I was able to take away that she talked about and a lot of different things is it's not just me giving the answers. It's how can I go ahead and guide the person to see things in a different light and do all of that stuff while also leading with value as you're going through the process, right? Getting on that initial call, having that, not necessarily having the time limit, everything there. Excuse me. And so that's one of the things that I was really able to take away. And I hope that you guys were able to as well. With that said, if you are not subscribed to the podcast, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. If you like this episode, like it. And we will see you on the next episode of the Coaching Uncovered podcast.